I want to welcome our Bloomberg Radio and Bloomberg Television audience as we are joined now by Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao. Secretary Chao, thank you so much for joining us. I want to start with the airlines and the airports. Do you think that more federal assistance is needed in the next round of stimulus to support them?
Well, let's see what happens with the CARES Act resources. We've given about $50 billion to the airline industry, $25 billion to the transit industry, $10 billion to airports, another $1 billion for Amtrak. That just went out in the last 3 weeks. So let's see what the impact of this additional resources will be when the president signed off on it on March 27th.
As you look specifically at Amtrak, for example, there have been some estimates, as you know, Secretary Chao, of them receiving a $700 million loss. They got $1 billion, as you mentioned, in the last package. But what has to be done in order to ensure that they're going to be ready once things are reopened for passengers to be safe, but also that they make the needed changes within their system to better serve the public?
Well, Amtrak has never made money. This year was going to be the first year that Amtrak was going to make money under the great leadership of its past president, Richard Anderson. They've got a new president now who's just terrific as well, John Flynn, from formerly CEO of Atlas. But Amtrak has experienced an unprecedented drop in passenger volume. Excella, was basically canceled because there were no passengers. The regional Amtrak train is operational on a reduced schedule, and passenger volume have basically decreased more than 95%. So the most important thing is, as the economy comes back, that people will have confidence and they will once again take advantage of Amtrak service.
One of the things that you've really worked hard on, Secretary Chao, is making sure that workers who are, whether it's in the airline industry or whether it's in on Amtrak, is that the workers who are actually on the airplanes and on the trains, that they have the needed supplies that they need themselves to keep safe. So can you assure municipal workers and municipal transportation workers all around the country that they're going to have the masks that they need, for example, once things get up and running again?
The safety of passengers and crews everywhere are our concerns, as is job security, workers' jobs as well. The $50 billion that was given to the airline industry, the travel industry, travel agencies, the ground crews, the $50 billion that was given out primarily goes to payroll. And most of the $25 billion that goes to transit is for basically payroll. We're concerned about workers' jobs. We're also concerned about their safety. And so with this money that comes from the federal government, they can use it to buy hand sanitizers, to clean more the facilities, the trains, the airline, the airplanes themselves, and also just to maintain operations. So hopefully, the provision of masks, which is so important. We're working on that issue along with the state and local authorities which have jurisdiction over the transit agencies.
Secretary Chao, even taking a break from Amtrak and the airline industry, Americans have really woken up to just how dependent they are on trucking, and truckers in particular who have been crisscrossing the country to deliver Amazon packages, for example, and the like. I understand, based upon my own reporting, that your team has been working with the trucking industry in order to allow them to be able to move more quickly. What specifically have you done in terms of deregulatory policies for the trucking industry?
Well, let me talk about the new American heroes, which is truckers. Nobody used to talk about supply chain. Nobody used to think about, or very few people used to think about how their grocery shop shelves get stocked, or how things get from one place to another. Essential medical supplies and essential medical equipment are being transported on trucks. So I want to give a big shout out to America's truckers because they are truly American heroes. And for the trucking industry overall, we're providing necessary regulatory relief on some very commonsensical matters. For example, we'll have some driver's licenses that will expire. Well, obviously, they can't be renewed if the DMVs in so many places are closed. So we are giving a waiver of 90 days for people to renew their licenses. Also, truck drivers and trucking companies are supposed to have training for alcohol and drug testing every 3 years. Well, obviously, this is not a good time. So we have given an extension for 90 days as well. We've also had an emergency declaration for hours of service. This is very technical. But to the truckers and to the trucking industry, they understand how important this is. And so, again, we are embarking upon, we're doing kind of commonsensical things that will allow the trucking industry and truckers to do their job to keep America's economy going for the rest of us.
Secretary Chao, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about unemployment numbers, just given your previous job as labor secretary in the Bush administration. So I got to get your take as you look at these numbers that are coming in, unemployment filings and the like. It is cause for concern, but are you optimistic that this might be sorted out or maybe back on the upswing come mid-summer or the end of the summer?
Well, the numbers are still devastating, but they are seemingly on a decline. They're huge numbers, but they seemingly are declining in the new numbers in terms of unemployment insurance applications being filed. I have never seen these kind of numbers when I was Secretary of Labor. And that's why the president last Thursday talked about getting the economy back, because with all of this trillions of dollars of assistance, the best thing to do is to get the economy back. And we can do so at the discretion of each state's governors, because each state is different. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. But there's going to be a 3-phase return for economic recovery, and it will be based on milestones that will be very, very clear to to governors and other leaders on how do you return the economy back, because not everywhere are hotspots. We have parts of the economy that can return in a deliberative, thoughtful way that will also ensure the safety of our citizens.